And here we go. It's just me and nobody else. So, hello, Internet, to those of you who will maybe view this later. It is 4:30. I may or may not be competing with House of Woo hours right now, admittedly. So, yeah, we're gonna do that. Not gonna play video games. I'm not gonna do that. What I am gonna maybe do is read some of Jordan Peterson's We Who Wrestle with God. And you might be asking why? Why on earth would we do that? And my answer is I don't know. Other than I had a colleague of mine one time say that I had a voice for audiobooks, and she jested and said that part of my gig over the summer could be is that I just read books on the live stream. And I thought since Jordan Peterson is making his rounds again in discourse and in the corner, um, I would read a book that came out a while ago that I've never touched. Actually, I take it back. I tried to read this book before, but I figured now would be a great time to stick around for a little while and see if anybody shows up. And if nobody delivers me from reading this in the next hour, I think I'll just wrap it up and be done. So, other than that, I might actually just express some thoughts on my mind too. Also, technically related to Jordan Peterson, but not really. Tonight's show is brought to you by this Spider-Man figure. Is this what the streamers do to get the focus? Oh, this sucks. This is terrible. I'm so glad nobody's watching this. Man, you get a 4K, you get a 4K camera, and it can't even focus on a nice, cool little Spider-Man figure. Anyway, brought to you by that. It's also brought to you by an iced coffee I probably shouldn't have poured at 4:30. It's got Bailey's in it, so I haven't tried it yet. We're gonna see how it is. 6 minutes in, and nobody's here. Here we go. That's some good stuff. And then if nothing works out, I'll just hop over to the House of Woo and I can just do that. Anyway, I guess I'll start with what I was thinking about. I'm frustrated, and if you couldn't tell by the silly thumbnail, it has to do with Jordan Peterson. Technically, the church bothers me a lot, and I don't know if it's just because I have a personality quirk or what, but I'm kind of in the middle of what would probably have been defined even sort of loosely as the meaning crisis circa 20, even or later than that. And the problem is Peterson is doing his Peterson thing now and is not telling people to clean his room and slay the dragon. And not that I needed Peterson at the time either, because I had the church and some other things, but the church doesn't know how to handle the crisis of young men. The church doesn't know how to handle a lot actually. And the corner, fortunately, I think is at least a good place as a salve and a healing place for that and some discussion on it. But man, oh man, I find it really difficult to present any of my concerns to the church presently without kind of, I don't know, getting a really lame answer and one that's not very helpful. I've touched on it before in videos before, but the church is living in a place 20 years ago. Looked at the JD Greer ministry stuff. Maybe I'll pull that up. I've looked at some of the other things that I get sent, and it's just not helpful. It's not culturally cognizant. It's not socially cognizant of what's happening with young people. It's not socially cognizant of what's happening with me, I guess, but I'm also probably an outlier in some respects. I'm frustrated. And so, don't blame me when all I want to do is play trading card games and not go to church or go somewhere else, even despite the commitments that I have there. That's where I'm at, and it's frustrating. And then the problem is okay, well, for somebody who's not necessarily as pensive or has the personality quirks that I do, maybe somebody who would have benefited from Peterson 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Who is that today? And I'm not saying that it needs to be Peterson. I'm not saying that Peterson was ever going to be a road to salvation, at least in the church, but it's certainly, I feel like people maybe who bemoan the direction Peterson has gone were expecting that. And it certainly seems in some respects that the people who are why is the church failing? I don't know. They didn't take notes from Peterson. They weren't aware of what was hitting or clicking with him. And so I feel like the church is just stuck. And I'm talking maybe specifically for defining terms about like the evangelical world, Big Eva, and less so the Catholic, the Orthodox. They got their own problems, and it seems like Pajot and Bishop Barron and all these guys in that world, they've got their own things on their hands, have brought people in into particular ways, and I'm not a part of that necessarily, despite dabbling in Catholicism and thinking I would like to do that at one point. So that's the running question for today. Man, no views. Maybe 4:30 in the afternoon is not the best time to compete with the House of Woo. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Hmm. I don't know. We'll see what happens. And I guess we'll read some Peterson. Oh boy, I'm gonna get in trouble. So I don't have any way to boost this to people either. Give me a second. We're gonna look. So anyway, church frustration, blah. I'm annoyed. Um, Jordan Peterson. I've never been somebody who was like Jordan Peterson saved my life because he didn't. And in some respects, I viewed much of Peterson's content, especially in the 2020s, early 2020s, I guess we're still in it, through the lens of PVK. He kind of very quickly became a filter for Peterson for me. And so a lot of what I've heard since then has been kind of PVK's commentary on it. And that's its own discussion about like how we get information and junk. But I like some of his stuff. I like what he did for other people. I don't know if he ever did it for me per se. Um, and so that's my summary, my history with Peterson. I'm gonna check the House of Woo to see what's going on there. I don't think my audio will pick up because I'm not screen sharing. Duly noted. I'm not gonna hijack this any more than I have, I suppose. Maybe it's a slow day. Anyway, I'm gonna keep rambling. We're gonna do it. Why is Norton Security calling me? Okay, real quick story for nobody who's listening. I one time installed Norton for like a laptop I was borrowing for security purposes. Now they're like, "Oh no, it's expired. We need you," and I need them to stop calling me. I need him to stop calling me. He needs to stop. He needs to stop. It's dumb. It's ridiculous. Stop it. Anyway, gonna silence that. Get out of here. Um, This was a bad idea. I'm gonna do the dead air. Anyway, let's copy the link to all the people who aren't here. Um, Paste that in the chat. Wonder my friend can hop on and do the thing. I have nobody to say whether they want me to read Jordan Peterson's book. I kind of want to read it and then like read it for a long stretch and see what happens if Peterson will come down and be like, "You can't read my book on a live stream. That's not how this works." Anyway, let me see. Let's see if a guy wants to hop on and help me out. Here we go. Today's main task is brought to you by Jordan Peterson's We Who Wrestle with God. Woo! Anyway, here we go. This is it. I got one view. Hello, viewer. Welcome. I'm going to be reading We Who Wrestle with God until someone saves me from doing this and they jump in and we can have a conversation. So here we go. We're going to start with the opening. It's carrion comfort. Not, I will not carry in comfort. Despair, not feast on thee. Not untwist, slack they may be, these last strands of man. In me or most weary cry, I am no more. I can something, hope, wish day come, not choose to be. All right, here we go. Here we go. All right,
So,
you've saved me from reading We Who Wrestle with God. Welcome to the show, Double Abortion. It's good to see you. Do you want? I know you in person. What do you want to go by?
you can call me my name. Yeah,
Okay,
my name.
Deani. Welcome. This is it. You're in. You're in the corner. You did it. We made it.
And
And I don't have to read this anymore now. We did it. Uh,
how long were you reading?
I didn't read it all. I literally opened the book. I was rambling for like 10 minutes. Just try to like stall.
All right. Can you hear me okay? Is it
Yeah, I can hear
loud
you
or
just fine.
quiet?
It's good.
All right.
Look at you, all pro set up with your like dash car, like car dash and stuff. This is awesome.
Yeah.
We're competing with the House of Wu right now. They're currently live, and I figured maybe that wasn't the best move.
Well, you had to compete with somebody.
I can't compete with McMo. He's kind of like monopolized the weekend chill streams, and I have to be at church. So do you. So I was talking about some of my like frustrations presently with the church, and I was talking about like if you're in a meaning crisis and you've been in the church, and that's like kind of what you understand to be like the foundation and where you're at in terms of community or space for processing. What happens when it's not working, and what happens when you don't have like a Jordan Peterson in the world? Uh, Maybe for the secularists, like what do you do? Are you stuck with like I mean, you have the estuary, like you have TLC, I suppose you have the corner. But where do you go? What do you do when that happens?
I think that's what everyone in the corner is actually trying to figure out. Like they found something that works in the TLC as of now, but it's kind of like a nebulous thing. Like in order to the simplest answer they keep giving is, "Oh, go to a church." But like you're saying, when that doesn't work out, well, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah, where does and then like where it's also like where's the community? I think of McMo like with him talking and him being like, the corridor is kind of the place where he interacts with the church, in like in all its spaces, like very ecumenically. And then the actual like physical church doesn't exist for him, like in the actual like terrain, like landscape. Um, so what do you do? Christian, oh, I guess I just accidentally name dropped him. Nobody knows who he is. It's fine. He was talking to me about like, and last night actually about the visible and the invisible church, and he was just trying to make it very clear and bringing it across that we have the physical, visible church, and he's like it's really messed up and it's really broken, and you're gonna have a lot of people you're not going to enjoy or agree with or work well with, and that's inevitable, and we participate in that. And then we have the invisible church, right, which is the church in which it's the body of witnesses, the cloud of witnesses. It's those in other spaces across the world. It's all these cool dudes who write books and preach, and like we are a part of that invisible. What is it? The universal church? That's not the right word for it, is it? Anyway, so there's those two things. So the question and the concern I don't think is with the invisible, infallible church, but I think it has everything to do with the visible church. And what do you do with that?
I really don't know because on the one hand, it is through our church that I've met the majority of my friends, the people that I would consider to be friends, that I'd like to be friends with. And it's where I found the most healthy and fruitful community that I have besides my family. So other places that I have tried, there's just like other friend groups like from school and stuff, those things don't tend to last either. They kind of just fizzle out without something actually binding the group together. So
I
it
agree with that.
seems to be like the answer is the church. One of the things that I keep thinking about is you can't just get a group of people of similar people together necessarily, and a community will just form naturally. You kind of need someone or like a couple of people that like actually know how to facilitate those kind of things for it to
Yeah.
start to form. For us, I think it was helped. At least once I got there, what helped a lot was our deacons hosting us
Yeah.
our dinner, hosting dinners for us. It was like an opportunity for everyone to get together for like a specific reason, and they kind of knew how to host properly. You know how to get people in with other people who don't necessarily talk to all the time, and how to keep a start a conversation and then leave and let the conversation go without them. They understand how to do that, and that's not something I know how to do. And so, if I were to try to start a community or start a group, I don't know how to do it. You can't just get together people. There has to be someone who can kind of get the ball rolling.
You need a glue. You need somebody to kind of bind everything else together in some way. Almost like the starting point. I don't mean to talk about myself, and I don't mean this in any good way because I don't like it. But I'm unfortunately probably the life, or at least the glue of our group in some respects. And there's some pressure there. I think of the corner, and I think PVK is a huge like glue, like linchpin, like corner of it, right? Because the comment is like when PVK's gone, the corner's gone. You're let's hope that doesn't happen. But that I think is in the case for a lot of different like circles and stuff. Um,
Unfortunately, yeah. But I agree with you. I think you're everyone's in our group. You're everyone's friend. Not everyone can say that about everyone else, but everyone
so
likes Henry. You're the center. You're the center. Everybody likes Henry.
that's
There's
weird
something.
too, looking at dynamics, just in like different groups, because I'll hang out with everybody and not with everybody at the same time. But um, I guess you need that. Um, but is that, and I guess this is also kind of, is that sufficient, or is a community, is like a small group of people, is that enough to kind of maybe stave off some of the meaning crisis? Is that enough maybe to stave off some of the pains of a, I don't want to call it a Petersonless world because I really don't want this to be about him. I don't want to give him credit right now where it's not due. But, is it, I don't know. What is community, is TLC sufficient for Meaning Crisis Wave 2?
I don't think it can be entirely online. I think it
No.
needs a physical component to it. Even if it's just physically seeing someone or physically hearing their voice, there has to be a physical component to it for it to be like completely fulfilling and fruitful. Because
No,
even then, this is a little different than how we usually talk.
it is extremely different. I think this is the funniest thing. I love this. This is so cool. Hello, other one viewer who's in here. Welcome to me not reading We Who Wrestle with God. Okay, we lost him. I can see the little counter. Anyway, no,
Yeah,
this is a
they
very
came
different
in.
way.
They were hoping for you to be reading it. So what? What? You're not reading? I'm out of here.
Here, I'll just act like I'm reading it. I'll have have it open. Anyway, no, this is a very different way to communicate. And I had an interesting phenomena last night talking about like physical space. I played Baldur's Gate 3 with my roommate, another guy that we know, and obviously we share a space, my roommate and I. So I'm in my space and he's in his room, like in across the hall. We played for like an hour, 2 hours, and then I walked out into the kitchen. He was there. And I was like, oh right.
Oh,
We lived together. It was so weird. Like I never have that. Obviously, I know where he's at, but there was this moment where I was like, I just talked with you as if you were in a completely like miles apart, as far as humanly possible away, and then I walk out into the kitchen to like finish up for the night. He's also just standing there. You have the same like reaction too. It does things. It's really weird. It does things to somebody. Like I guess you could theoretically do like we're all gonna game in the same house and not actually see each other all day. Like that, I don't know what that would do to somebody, but I guess you could do it.
I did that a couple of times with my brother. When we used to live in the same house, his room was literally the room next to mine, and we would both play our PlayStations like against each other together right across the room. And I could hear him screaming and hollering, whenever we play. But just the fact that you weren't in the same room with them, it was it made it more fun. Honestly, it was like when you're physically sitting next to someone, you kind of have to like consider their feelings a little bit. You know, you don't want to completely destroy them, but when they're if there's even just a wall separating you, you can't see them, man.
There's no more nice
Oh,
guy.
yeah.
You can't get me if I'm not in the same house. Which is why collaborative play. Which is why we just need to play. What is it? Helldivers. Helldivers 2.
Yeah.
Teamwork.
I was actually just you mentioned that she didn't want to be in a non-Petersonian world. I actually just clicked off of one of PBK's videos where he was talking about PBK, and I kind of get like annoyed because I was like, I don't I don't really know who Jordan Peterson is. Like, I haven't like spent years listening to his lectures. He hasn't had a major impact on my life, and so like this analysis of his downfall or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
that's been going on for like a couple of weeks has been like, all right, I don't really get the big deal about it.
It's weird. I was just explaining to 0 people before you showed up that I didn't listen to Peterson for very long before I found PVK. And then when I found PVK, anytime Peterson was covered, it was just through his filter. So my friend put me onto Peterson mostly for the political stuff, actually. And oh, somebody showed up. We do have the book. We do have We Who Wrestle with God. We will look at this later. Don't leave. Ah, here we go. Don't leave. Come stick around. Anyway, I'm with Deani here talking about Peterson and how the church fails to, I think, address the male meaning crisis 2.0. Anyway, so I listened to PVK cover Peterson in a filter, but before that, I was listening to Peterson's like Kathy Newman show stuff, and when he was on the tours and stuff, kind of just doing the like post Bill C-16, like, I've got political thoughts and I've got ideas about speech, and everybody got mad about that and stuff. And so I thought that was interesting, and I was like, oh, he's talking some sense. And then I don't know, his like biblical stuff. Like, I liked some of the Genesis things that I'd listened to, but it never caught on for me. And then I found the PVK randos, and I was like, yeah, this is it. And then everything else was just kind of like I needed somebody to listen to and talk about things while I did stuff. And then it just happened to be about Peterson. And then I would bail when it was about like the CRC.
I'm actually more interested in the CRC stuff than the Jordan Peterson stuff because,
That's funny.
like, seeing the inner workings of a church, it's like, I don't know. In the beginning of my faith, when I started to like really think about those kind of things, I wasn't part of a church, and so looking at churches, it was like a whole different experience. Now that I am part of a church, and I can kind of see some of the moving parts, I can kind of see like behind the curtain. Things don't look good. Things don't look good.
No, it doesn't.
But
Uh,
it seems like things don't look good for most churches, which I don't know. I don't know what to think about that, honestly.
I don't know. I think about that, and I think about like church fidelity, and that's like duty to a particular church doesn't. That's not necessarily a virtue, and it's not something that ever gets brought up in the letters in the church. So it's not like you can like necessarily exegete or pull something out about like you got to stay faithful to your church. I think it was just kind of assumed that you had to stick to these body of believers of like Jesus followers, because if one dies, you all die together, and like that's just how it was, and that was cool, first century type stuff. And like now that doesn't exist, and that's a multitude of problems. But like you've seen it, people just be like, I'm out. And it's like, I gotta go. And you're like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, why? We don't need church connoisseurs, in this in an era like this. You can quote me on that too.
What you're saying about the church doesn't know how to speak or how to handle the meaning crisis. It doesn't know how to be a church because the church At least how I'm beginning to understand how I'm seeing is the church is the community. And then over time, the community of believers, they came up with traditions. They had things custom.
Oh man, dead zone Wi-Fi. Shoot, we lost Diani. Maybe he'll come back. In the meantime, we'll just leave him frozen. I don't know. When he comes back, he'll come back. Anyway, welcome to the show. We have 0 live viewers presently. Cool. Diani hopefully will come back. And if he doesn't come back, I guess I'm gonna have to read We Who Wrestle with God. Let's see. Must be a quiet day in the corner. Must be a quiet day across the board. Don't worry, we'll build a market. We'll come in here. Maybe we'll watch some Paul Washer. Ah man, I lost Diani entirely. Well, thank you for joining, Diani. I know traffic and service and stuff is difficult, so drive safe. As soon as you're back and able to talk, if you so wish, I'll throw you back in. In the meantime, we'll put a shelf on the conversation about the church and all that, and we'll do it. We'll do it. We're gonna read it. Here we go. I'm gonna skip that poem intro. We're just gonna read foreshadowing. Foreshadowing. I'm not gonna do the Peterson voice. Foreshadowing. With still small voice. We begin our journey, wrestling with God, with a singular story. It is one that presents a remarkably weighty idea in the dramatic form typical of the biblical narratives. An idea that can help us understand why we should explore these increasingly forsaken ancient stories. It is, oh shoot, he's back!
Back.
Man, you're saving me always at the right time. I was just about to be like, well, I guess I'm gonna have to do it. This is like a threat now. It's like, don't make me do this to myself.
Every time you stream, you gotta have it to the side. Just
But
that's a warning.
it's gonna be great. Be like, that's it. If you don't participate, I'm gonna read Peterson, and then I want Peterson to come at me and be like, you can't do this.
You might. You know, you might
I'd
be
be
like,
like, he's already really angry about a lot. Maybe he'll get angry that some guy was reading his book. Anyway, the church and behind the scenes. Oh, church loyalty of like, what's the reward for church fidelity? I think I know what some of the answers are, and I think we've both experienced it. But what's the reward for church fidelity?
I think it's the community, the opportunity for community relationships themselves. If you just persist, continuing, not even necessarily participating with like or volunteering, but just going to the church, you'll see other people who continue, who keep going as well, and there's potential there. There's opportunity to form relationships there. So I think that's what's C.S. Lewis call it? The love of the familiar.
The storge?
Storge, yeah. There's an opportunity for Storge to form there. If you just see the same guy every week for 5 years across the church,
Yeah.
one day eventually you might say hi to him, say, hey, what's going on?
One day. Sooner or
Yeah.
later. It's a huge gap.
Yeah, there's
Storge does a lot, I think, also to keep people at a church, both in terms of like Storge for one another, and then like not that because there's the likings and loves of the subhuman, right? But there's technically like a lot of Storge, I think, even for like the church itself. And you're like, this old church, this old building, this old place, like a love of the subhuman and like in the like the church in its entirety in some way. So I think there's some there's a lot to that. You know, people just need to read more of C.S. Lewis's The Four Loves. People just need to do that. As a reminder, you can always jump in and have a conversation with us, share your unfocused thoughts here on this lovely Tuesday evening live stream. You got to grift. You got to plug.
Gotta plug.
Got to plug. Um, anyway, so it's just kind of all over the place. I don't really have any I didn't have any a script written out for anything. So what's on your brain? What do you want to contribute? I've just kind of thrown out a bunch of topics we could run with later, but
My brain. I don't know. Well, I'm kind of struggling to come up with a lesson idea for the
okay.
youth because they're pretty sharp. They pick up on whatever I put down pretty quickly. So I don't want to give them baby stuff, but
Okay. So
yeah.
what have you talked about before?
What was the first? The first lesson was about prayer. How prayer is vital to our sanctification.
Oh man, no, we've lost him again. He's buffered. He's paused. No. Will he come back, or will I have to grab We Who Wrestle with God again? Okay. When Diani comes back, be able to come back. Darn it. Okay. Hi, welcome to the show. I'm gonna read We Who Wrestle with God. Until Diani comes back right at the last minute to save me from this, because he's currently frozen in traffic. And by frozen in traffic, I mean he's frozen driving. So we're gonna start with foreshadowing, the still small voice. We begin our journey wrestling with God with a singular story. It is, oh shoot, here we go. I've been saved by Ethan. I don't have to read it. Hello, Ethan. Welcome to the show. It's good to see you.
I can't let you read that. Don't read that. Don't
That's
do it. I can't let you. We can't do it. Just don't do it.
This is gonna be the new threat. It's like, all right, that's it. Nobody wants to talk. You're getting the book.
I haven't read the book, so I've only heard it's confusing.
I read foreshadowing once a couple months ago, and I was like, what am I reading? And then I tried. Also, the Genesis creation stuff was so mid. It's like, oh, really lame. Even kind of evangelical talking points got dug up there. I'm like, thanks a lot. All right, now this is a party. We got Ethan here. We got Diani. I don't see how this could get better. Here we go. I don't have to read We Who Wrestle with God.
All right, hopefully it doesn't happen again. I think I figured it out.
Cool. You got a lot of car noise now, or driving noise. There we go. I think you got it. Excellent. Okay, so Diani was just talking about before the traffic rudely interrupted him in the cellular service there. About here we go. Open it up. Got these little rectangle boxes. Anyway, was just speaking on trying to figure out something to talk about for youth group and teaching.
Yeah.
So you've talked about prayer. You've done it for 2 weeks now, or is it just 2 weeks of prayer?
The first week we talked about prayer, and then the second week going on to, because they were asking a lot about virtues, like how to grow in the virtues and practice virtues. So we talked about walking in the Spirit. Well, what does it mean to? Because that's the biblical answer, at least. That's the answer that the Scripture gives us. Walk in the Spirit, and you won't do the deeds of the flesh. Right? Walk in the Spirit, you'll be fruitful. Things like that. And so we talked about, okay, what does that mean? What does it look like? And how can we do it? Things like that. And I did another one on that to try to flesh it out. So kind of fresh out of ideas now.
Oh man,
I was hoping they would keep asking me questions, and then I could go along with that. But no, they seem to got it all figured out.
So our youth group is not previously or not presently ill-equipped to be able to do this stuff. But that's good. That's encouraging. I don't know. You should just pick something that you like going through right now. Because that's my secret, Diani, is that I just teach on whatever I want to talk about. when we do our young adult group. That's it. Like that's all I do. So I'm just like, I want to talk about healing. We're gonna do that, or like, I want to, which maybe we'll do. I'm like, I want to talk about like New Jerusalem, like Zion, just like the hope of it, not necessarily the actual eschatology. Be like, let's talk about that, right? Um, I don't know. That's where I would. That's not the. That's all I got. Just what do you want to talk about? What do you think is cool?
Well, I'm kind of worried that if I do that, it either go over their head or it'll be something they never even thought of before. It might like it might like test their faith or something. And I definitely don't want to do that. I definitely don't want to do that. I
You
want
don't
to
want
encourage them, build them up. I don't want to get them questioning the things that they already understand. That should come later.
right, right. Oh man, because you gotta have something for this Sunday too, don't you? Hmm. So you talked about prayer. You talked about like the virtues, and then kind of walking in those. Can you like highlight or find specific examples in which the virtues are used or are made present in different like key stories or like works of the ministries and like acts? He's frozen again. No. Oh man. We'll see if Diani comes back.
You guys go to the same church? Is that how you guys
Yeah,
know each other?
yeah, that's how we know each other. So
Awesome.
Diani started coming like shoot, I don't know, like 2 years ago or something. And I don't know. He's been a real OG to say the least in the group, and he's currently frozen and technically not here, but he's like one of the saints of our church. So when PVK talks about how like a church like hasn't like caved in on itself, or whatever, and like all the problems it has, but the church is still around for one or two saints. Diani's one of those guys. He's the reason why the archangel above it hasn't been like, that's it, I'm done. Like he's
Wait, how long have you been at the church?
5 years since I was at
Okay, 5.
university.
I was gonna say because I didn't think that it was like I knew it wasn't like a family church,
Mm-mm.
like generations for you is what I meant. 5
Yeah,
years.
no, this has been my since I was at USF church. So, which feels like a whole different like life and like chapter break too anyway. So like it might as well be like the start of like a line. We'll see. Um but yeah, we've done a lot at that place, or a lot has been done at that place, I guess I should say. Um and it's still kicking. It's still kicking despite some of the circumstances we've dealt with before. So anyway, what about you, Ethan? What's going on with you? You know, you're like countdown to the wedding and all that.
Yeah, September 6th is the wedding. Um,
Shoot.
I didn't do any wedding work today. I need to do some tomorrow. Um, I was laughing because I pulled up YouTube for a sec. I was doing something, and then I saw that you were streaming at the same time House of Woo is streaming.
I
I was
know.
like, well, I got to see what Henry's up to if he's over here challenging the throne on a Tuesday.
I figured, I don't know. There's sometimes the boomer energy is a little much sometimes, and I was like,
Oh,
there's my confession. And like I can do it. I can vibe with it, but tonight I was like, I don't know. I feel like I could say some stuff. And I wanted to contribute, throw my own thing in with a different vibe. So that's it. No offense to anybody at the House of Woo. I like being on there, but I can only do so much.
well, I think the internet is big enough for things happening at the same time.
I think so. I think so.
And
So
besides, like if I was to go over to House of Woo right now, then I'd be one of however many people on a screen, which is great. It's a large conversation,
and I
but
that's hard to keep up in because I think oftentimes you just go like
well, and especially like if you're in a mood to like chat, it's
hmm
like, well, I'm gonna chat, and then oh, I want to say something, but I'm gonna wait my turn, and then there's 4 other people who speak, and then it's like, oh, the thing I wanted to say isn't even relevant anymore in just like a large conversation mode. And
Yeah.
well, like, and I don't know. Personally, I like. We need multiple modes, right? Like we need big
Yes.
modes, we need little modes.
Yeah. And
So
I feel like I've also dumped enough like trauma personal history on the House of Wu to like spare another night of that. So I think we're good. I think the House of Wu can do without that for a night. Um, so I don't know. I don't know how long I'm gonna go because at some point I got a big dinner, but it's not soon. Um,
okay, you're 4 hours ahead of me, so it's 5:10 by you. Is that right?
yeah, it's 5:10. Yeah, it's not quite dinner time, but it's like on like a school night, I'd be like, yeah, 5:10. I gotta start making dinner now because I gotta be in bed by like 8. I'm on summer break now, so I can kind of just do whatever I want for 2 months.
You're on summer break, so you're staying up till 8 p.m.
Yeah, right. I'm staying up till like 11, at the latest. I don't want to
Yeah.
ruin my sleep schedule completely.
You have 3 months to ruin things and then recover from ruining things.
That's fair.
Isn't
But
it
like
3 months?
2 months. I come back in August. Um, I know I'm getting shortchanged a month.
Your summers. Oh, wait, how does that work? I don't understand.
All of June, all of July, come back the second week of August-ish.
Oh, so two and a quarter months.
Something like that. Which is enough because you hit the like a month and a half in and you're like, I need my structure. I need some sort of purpose again.
No, that's very. I mean, yeah, yes, because you're a professional adult and this is your career, so that makes sense.
Yeah. Um, so I mean, I guess I could just do the freelance live stream thing all summer and then see what happens. And then this will be the Lent, right? Be like, well, I work, so I can't do this. Um, so that's the plan. And play card games. Play a lot of One Piece card game. Play a lot of Star Wars Unlimited.
But you don't. Okay, you don't watch One Piece. You just play the card.
Yeah. So my one of my dearest friends and some of the other guys are really into One Piece. And then they picked up the card game for whatever reason. Oh, we played the Star Wars card game, and one of my really good friends was like, I'm not feeling it. I want to make something my own. He pioneered us like playing this game, and he cooks all the time. He's making decks of like every character. He's like, oh, I'm gonna make an egghead themed deck, and it's just all egghead cards. Blah blah blah. Anyway,
Oh yeah. Let's go.
I just wanted to play with them. That's all. And I'm gonna throw Luke in here. What's up?
Hey guys,
Welcome. Well,
hey. I don't have much time. I'm just driving to pick up the kids, but I just thought I'd drop in and say hi.
yes, sir. Welcome aboard. We're talking about One Piece card game and how I got into this thing and how I don't watch One Piece. So we just figured out cards and like a deck. And I really liked Sabo because I thought he looked cool. He had that like Victorian look. I liked the goggles and like the cane slash pipe thing. I was like,
Yeah,
I'll build
Savo's
that.
sick.
So I play a Revolutionary Army deck right now, and I just like cleaned it up for it's like more meta friendly. And so like Bello Betty's the new leader, and I put like Monkey D Dragon in it, and he's a really cool card. And so the goal is just to ramp to him and like hit for like 12K right at the end of the game. So, but I don't know. Anime, it's like with play games where I'm like, I could play a video game or I could find some other thing to do with my time, and I like to think I'm more conscientious of it, and I just don't know if I can commit to One Piece or like most of the sensibilities of like contemporary anime either. There's some of that stuff is kind of off-putting to me.
That makes sense.
I did it more in high school. Like Full Metal Alchemist was the stuff. Like I really liked that one, and Cowboy Bebop. And then when My Hero Academia came out, I was like a sophomore in high school, and that was really cool. But that was also because the American Western comic book industry was really not doing well at the time, and that was a nice kind of substitute for that stuff. Welcome to the show. We're talking about anime.
Yeah, I was very restricted in terms of what I could watch as a kid. So anime was not that. Also, I'm a little old. Um, I'm 35, so I guess anime was kicking off when I was younger, but I feel like younger guys have like much more of a relationship with anime. Uh, I did do Pokemon cards though. I did the Pokemon trading card game when I was younger.
Yeah,
That's
that counts. That counts. That's
yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
that. Only
Uh,
Japan could have done that.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to
yeah.
watch Pokemon to the evolution.
Okay. Yeah.
Ooh,
I didn't watch. I could play the card game. Um, yeah. I had friends who did like Magic the Gathering, and that was definitely a no no. Dungeons and Dragons was a no no. But I could do
Yeah.
Pokemon.
man, that's crazy. I had no fundamentalist background. My parents kind of let me do whatever, which is fine because I was already the oldest child and super conscientious of what was and probably was not good anyway, so it didn't matter. But I had a friend in
Ah,
high school. I'm still close to him now. I love him dearly. We tried to play Dungeons and Dragons in high school and pick that up, but it was like just us and then this other kid that we knew through chorus, and we would go to his house and do sleepovers and play in like the little like what is it called, the in-law suite building, and like all night and eat like cheap Domino's pizza. But I think his mom was concerned about us playing it because his dad was a Lutheran pastor. Uh, and I think she was concerned we were doing weird things, but we weren't. We really just we didn't know what we were doing. We all just liked building worlds. We just liked world building and making characters. We played very little of the actual game. And it was
yeah.
always homebrew, so we never like played a campaign that was ever like could have ever been misconstrued as like overtly satanic or like demonic or weird. Like I was already in the Baptist church doing that thing and stuff, and I was like, I want to be a hero, I want to help people, or like be the dungeon master, and just wanted to be like, I just wanted to like have them be heroes, and the people I played with, like the band kids, would ruin it for me, and then that's how I quit playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Those band kids.
There's something else.
There's
Luke, did you do
no,
any
I played
game
I
stuff
played
growing up?
trumpet growing up, so I was a band kid. But I can make fun of band kids because band kids are weird. I will attest.
There's like a hierarchy of like weirdness from when I was in high school. So like it was like the performing arts, it was like the trifecta, and some were more severe than others. It was like chorus was at the bottom, and that's saying a lot because the men's choir that I was part of, I have horror stories from that probably would require like paperwork today. And then we had like the band kids, and then like the theater kids were on a level of their own. Like
Yeah,
I
they're on
took
another level.
I took drama one in like sophomore, junior year, and I was like, these are not my people. I'm scared. Like,
Look at it, Ethan. Were you a theater kid?
Are you trying to insult me right now?
No, it would just be hilarious if we were just talking smack about theater kids and be like, "Hey, that was me."
No.
You don't strike me as a thespian.
I was a church kid. Like I didn't do any extracurriculars, but I did every single program that the mega church offered. And I went on like every single missions trip, every single like my entire life in high school was mega church related.
You're just church maxing in high school.
Yeah.
listen, the church maxing, Ethan, I think ultimately helped you to where you're at now. You know, if you didn't church max then, who knows how it would have gone now, you know?
Yeah, I
Not
mean,
not in like a
it
silly
helped
way.
me. It helped me get on staff and then become like a half pastor, and then have my world blow up and run away from God and like just spend 8 years in the wilderness. I mean
No,
that's
but
where it
like
took me.
no, I
And
meant yes, but like I meant in like a good way. Like you at least knew that there was a place to come back to. Some people don't have that, you know? That's all.
There's not a place for me to come back to. I can
you
guarantee you
you
that.
have no home.
That's
Have you
why we're
guys
here
heard
in the
of
corner.
accelerationism? Like Nick Land,
Mm-mm.
accelerationism.
No,
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
You know what I'm talking about? It's just like capitalism on steroids that just like pushes into eventually it gets to the point where capitalism kind of like collapses under its own weight. I think there's a church version of that, and Ethan went down that road. Like he
Yeah.
was like evangelical accelerationist. He just like went pull in as fast as he could and then went off the nihilist cliff. Yeah, you think? Is that accurate, Ethan?
Yeah. I mean, because like if I had not gone off the nihilist cliff, then I would have. I mean, I was on track to enter like the conference slash summer camp speaking circuit. Essentially,
Yeah.
I had like started doing that speaking circuit in like county-wide, and then you just keep doing that, and then you end up statewide, then you go countrywide. So yeah, it was like all the way, or like drop out and find out what's out on the other side of this.
Yeah. Well, I gotta get off. I'm here at my parents' house to pick up the kids, but
Are we still good to live stream Thursday, Luke, or do the conversation?
yeah, I'll just record it. It won't be a live stream, but
Yeah, that works.
yeah,
Cool.
it's on my
Okay.
calendar.
Awesome
So
sauce.
I'll see you then.
Mine too.
All right.
See
Bye,
ya.
guys.
Thank you for coming on.
Of course.
Woo! We're doing real good, folks. Welcome to the show. We're talking with Ethan, and he's doing laundry, and I'm drinking an iced coffee with Bailey's, and we're not reading We Who Wrestle with God. This is a clickbait title and cover for the thumbnail. So, that's all I got. Here we go. I got a question for you, Ethan, because I threw it to Deani before you got here, and that's how I opened the open this live stream. What do you do if you are a young Christian man who's going through their own kind of meaning crisis 5, 6, 7 years after Peterson was relevant, and in the midst of Peterson being a different beast now, and the church can't seem to get their act together and learn anything from Peterson the last 7 years, or figure out how to meet the young adults or young men? Like, what is a church to do? What is a guy to do?
When you say, what do you do as a young Christian man? Are you saying, what does Henry do?
Sure, but we can throw this out broader because it's not just me. I think it's emblematic of others. I have some guys, like friends in the church now too. Some of the guys that I'm like, man, like I don't know how to help them because I'm in a similar boat in some respects, and their lives more than mine too are just kind of in the church, and they don't have these online spaces. I don't think that's their thing, and that's not their like that's not something they'd be interested in terms of like interest and like kind of just disposition. So, either for the highly neurotic and introspective, or for like the average, like I'm doing the church thing and I'm trying to get my feet up off the ground. Like, what are they supposed to do if the church can't seem to do it? Because it's really struggling. At least mine is really struggling. I think something that's not clicking. And then we're all here like just doing like the young adult thing. And I think that's sufficient right now, but is that fulfilling ultimately?
Well, what do you mean doing the young adult thing?
We're all just hanging out and we do Bible study and we talk and we meet outside of it and we hang out together and we just keep community. But I don't know if there's a whole lot of like ultimate direction with where it's headed necessarily. Maybe that's a fault of my own as technically the leader of the group in the ministry, but it's just coming to my mind, especially with Peterson right now in light again of what he's talking about and what he used to be and like the testimonials people had almost 10 years ago, from him.
Okay, so well, help me out here, because like one of the things you're talking about is like the zeitgeist of the, maybe it's the month, but maybe it's just a 2 week Peterson cycle.
That's fair.
Um,
That's fair.
like, what does Peterson mean to you? Like, does Peterson mean anything to you, or you're just
No.
trying to like get meaning out of the zeitgeist? That's what I'm confused about here.
Oh, I'm just trying to shill for people to come watch. One, two. Peterson really doesn't mean a whole lot to me. He was kind of there politically right at the beginning of 2020, because my friend sent a bunch of like the Kathy Newman interviews and stuff, because that was when he was more politically charged at the time. And at this point, like PVK very quickly filtered Peterson for me, and I was just like, I stopped listening to him actively after a certain point, if at all ever listening. So he's not worth anything to me per se, or doesn't hold any particular meaning to me. But
Well,
knowing what he did and knowing the like kind of the discourse around him was like, okay, stuff could have been learned. I don't think anything has been learned. And then I listened to like some of the guys in the church where it's like, I feel like people outside, like Peterson and maybe even the coroner, have already figured out some of the problems that the church is facing now. with like connecting to new audiences or untapped audiences to draw them in, to help them. It's like still way too, they're like not on the bandwagon per se, but they haven't found the path. They haven't found out how to stay healthy. And so it's kind of like a miracle that our young adult group is like there, because I would argue my church doesn't have a whole lot to offer for young adults just in general, in terms of help or counsel or even like purpose direction, at least in helping figure that out.
Okay, so it's interesting because I think one of the things that happened to a lot of people who are in their 30s right now. I mean, there's some below and some above, obviously, but like
Mhm.
um Peterson was some kind of like what would you call it? Like it's like if you're on like a rope bridge and the rope bridge begins to like fray and then it begins to like snap and it's like, oh no, we won't be able to make it across anymore.
Mhm.
Peterson was kind of like this figure who grabbed both edges of the bridge and was like, come make the other side and like trample me as you come along. I think there
Yeah.
were a number of us that like ran across Peterson and made it to like some kind of other side of a meaning crisis. But what I've wondered is for someone, right? So your generation below me,
Mhm.
like when I listen to you talk, or if I listen to President Foxman talk, or Zeke is also in the corner who I've talked to, like I don't know what the meaning crisis means to you.
Yeah.
So like I don't even feel like I understand what your generational landscape is in like an honest or legitimate way. I was thinking that today and yesterday, maybe even the day before. I was thinking, man, I'd really like to talk to a number of like Generation Z people back to back to back
Yeah.
and to just explore how you see the world, what you feel, what does it feel like to be your age in this time and place? Because I mean, outside of like corner interactions, I don't have any meaningful Gen Z interactions in my life.
Yeah, that's
And
fair.
I know when I listen to people who are Gen X, I go, I see the world completely different than you, which leads me to assume that you see the world in a different way than I see it as a millennial, even. But I
I
don't know
probably
that
do.
for sure.
Yeah. That's interesting. Like the idea that the meaning crisis has probably been redefined since since it was like that kind of that bubble term for a lot, right? Because I guess that's been 5 years since that language was really used. And it probably does take on a different form for
Like, have you
y'all.
experienced a meaning crisis, or do you feel like you're just experiencing a post-apocalyptic landscape and you didn't see like because one of the things I think about a lot is like dial up as a kid, where like there was tons of friction to access the internet.
Hmm.
And I feel like some of that nostalgic memories of being 10 years old, 12 years old. I was born in 92, so like late 90s, early 2000s. Like that was a different world. And now this new frictionless internet digital landscape is like ruptured the world I remembered, but you don't have memories of that earlier world. So I'm
No,
just curious. I'm curious what the meaning crisis means to you. Do you feel like you had a meaning crisis, or are you just in pursuit of meaning? Do you feel like you have a meaningful life? Do you want meaning? Like, what kind of questions are you asking yourself, or are you and your friends talking about? Yada
sure.
yada yada.
I think I don't know if I have a 100% strong, like clear answer, but one of the things that I think I find right now is that some of it is with like family and creating that kind of life. It's like, okay, you have a very different landscape for communication. You have a very different landscape with regards to like kind of marriage and stuff. Rod Harris talked about like the rules changing and blah blah blah, like etc. Like we don't have to like get into that necessarily. But like that, maybe the reality of the situation being very different than the one that the boomers, not in like a derogatory boomer way, but like that the boomers and even the Gen X have kind of always seen the world at, doesn't exist anymore for communication. And that the world that the boomers and the Gen X have described when it comes to like work or seeking out jobs or seeking out relationships, etc., I don't think exists Like it doesn't exist anymore. Maybe it is. I don't want to call it post-apocalyptic. That's almost like extreme. But if you're in the church, and especially with the demographics I have, you have a youth group, you have a very small young adult group, and then kind of like the millennial Gen X families. And I think those worldviews probably do clash. And I don't know if enough conversations had about how different the world is. Because like a boomer and a Gen Xer will be like, this is just how it's going to be, and things are going to work out. Things will be just fine. You're like, I don't know. Everything's kind of a hot mess across the board, like everywhere, um, in this kind of ever-changing, very different landscape, right? There's like, how do we handle that? And maybe that's some of the question is like, how much does tradition help bring people back or solve some of these problems, or does it? Like, I don't know. I don't know if it's a meaning crisis necessarily, and maybe that's just a word I'm using because it's familiar. But the future seems very, I think, uneasy ultimately, insofar as like the rules don't exist the way they did before, and even with regards to like work and like purpose and like society too, like AI is really threatening in some respects, even to like a teaching gig. We're trying to get like these weird AI programs coming in to like draft lessons for us and
Are
mini
you really
modules for our students. And I'm like,
for the
this
fall?
is, it's like not necessarily for everybody. Like technically, yeah, to be integrated in the fall, but it's like use this program that really is just open source AI, but now just like slapped on with this educational tool. And it's like, I don't want to. I don't like that. I hate that a lot. Both for like the sake of our students, and then is this an attempt kind of to like, again, to automatize even something that's very, I think, personal and intimate, which is teaching and like education, or can be. So some of that's a threat too. Or like it's like, oh, I want to change careers, I want to look for another job, and you're like, AI is going to take that over. Your talents as a writer, even copywriter, descriptor writer, like AI will take that over. And that's coming from like a late Gen Z person who's kind of in that world, and they're like, that's not encouraging, thank you. I guess I will stick to my job for as long as it is. So maybe some of that is, I don't know if it's a meaning crisis, but I think there's potential for it. Because it's not like I'm a nihilist and I don't have hope per se. I'm a nihilist and I don't have a telos per se, especially in the church, but it's the world is a mess and I don't know maybe how to handle it or do stuff in it. And is it going to be look anything similar to what it was before?
Yeah, I mean, I think for my millennial cohort, I think nihilism really is the word. Like, nihilism is the thing that happened to us, or that we walked through, or we were attacked by, or however you want to frame it, phrase it, etc. So, yeah, it's interesting to hear you say, like, yeah, I don't know that like nihilism is really like that's not the spirit of your age.
Mm-mm.
And some people go like, generations, it's only 15 years or whatever it is. Like, it doesn't explain anything. And I've always been like, I don't know. It does seem to explain some sort of like there's a spirit of the age, and for millennials, like nihilism was like our great enemy, and it like it still is sort of. But I hear you when you're talking about some of that is like institutions. I think that's what I'm hearing you say is institutions, and I mean I definitely feel that like when I was I was dating I don't know was it 33 5 years ago, and I remember thinking it was strange 5 years ago if I was to go to like a bar or a club is the wrong word. I don't know what the right word is. A gathering place centered on drinks or whatever. The people were
Yeah.
talking to each other less,
Mm-hmm.
and I've heard that more and more from your generation that people are like hesitant about physical interaction in all kinds of ways.
Yeah.
Uh, like the digital has a more primary realness to it. Like you can be more authentic and honest in a digital space, and you're going to be more guarded, and like the flesh and blood world is like almost believed to be inherently dangerous, but the digital space is like safe and you can be yourself, and I don't know
Yeah.
if that's true or not.
I I don't know if I can like maybe for some, for me no. And maybe I can kind of live in both worlds, but because that's just because have a natural, not natural, but like I have charisma in person and I can very much interact with people in the
Oh,
real
you
world.
got the
Like
Riz?
Oh, hang on. If I can send a video off my phone, I'll show some Riz on the live stream. Um,
Do it.
to use this, I'll figure that out, and I'll do it as I talk. But if looking at like the idea of like people don't go to bars, social spaces, common ground, whatever you want to call it, to meet, etc. Um, we've talked about it, and it's come up of like I'm trying to meet somebody, da 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 da, and it's like it's not a physical space where it seems like I can meet people. And then if there is an individual, the whole like just talk to them, like no, the rules have changed. Whether or not people want to admit it, you can't just come up to like whoever
What rules?
necessarily.
What rules? What
The
rules and how
like
have they changed?
the like Gen X, maybe Boomer, like you like somebody, go talk to them, ask them to dinner, ask them to a date. Like that doesn't exist. That does
No,
not
no, no,
exist
no,
in the
no,
Gen
no,
Z
no, no,
space.
no. Nah, I'm doubling down on that boomer thing. That is always how it has worked. If you
Is
like
it?
someone, you have to talk to the person you like. Because if you never go up and talk to the person you like, they'll never know that you like them
Fair enough.
or even have the smallest amount of interest. Now, but keep going because you're saying things have changed. So if you're not allowed to talk to someone, then what are the current allowed mechanisms for talking to someone?
So maybe that's always the rule, but maybe that's not the rule that people live by. Maybe that's a better way to say it, just to like put that on the table. I think a lot of it has been predicated on those like dating apps and stuff, right? That's the space where you do this. That's the space where you meet people. And it's gotten so bad, I think, where you have like programs like Bumble for friends, and you're like, you can't make friends in person. That's unfortunate. Like that sucks. I don't have that
Yeah.
problem, but people do, I'm sure, where they're like, oh, I only meet people online. And you're like, why? Can you do that? Like, should you do that? Not saying the quarter is anything, but like if they can't go out and meet people in common ground in spaces, like they're kind of that's not good. It's like high school is like the last place. I think a lot of people do that before like you hit you, and maybe even college might be the last place because I think like once, at least for me as an adult now, I don't have the college space. I'm still technically old enough for like the college age or young enough for that, but I don't have that forum anymore. And so in other public spaces, it just doesn't exist. It seemingly. I feel like I'm losing the losing the plot the way I'm describing this, but
Oh, I think you're gaining the plot because I'm understanding you more and more.
okay.
And I said something earlier like the digital has become more primary than flesh and blood.
Yeah.
And what I was trying to say I think is like I think like I still have found flesh and blood places to be like a third space. Is that the thing? Third space?
Is
Like
that yeah, the
that's
common
literally what,
grounds?
yeah. Um, but I think nowadays everyone has just agreed that like, oh well, the digital is the common ground, therefore I don't need any common ground in the physical land.
Yeah. I just wanted to highlight Cece's comment. Yeah, do you mind if I sit here? I guess does still work. And for the record, I have Riz. I can talk to people in public. Just wanna say that. I have proof too. Anyway, we'll keep going. But I think like as you said, and as I've kind of elaborated, the digital space is almost dominated or almost all attempted to take precedent over that.
Yes, because like when I would go to like a dance club, 6 years ago, often we would just have like goofy interactions sometimes
Hmm.
where like it would be a bunch of us and it would be like it'd be a club and whatnot, but some song would come on that was like from our childhood and we would form like a goofy ass dance circle and like
Yeah,
just be silly in a club. But we also weren't like live streaming it. There was nothing digital was happening. There was no like, oh, this is a moment that people need to film. It was just like this is a human experience that we're all here together, and there was no consideration of immediately taking this physical thing and turning it into some kind of digital content.
correct. Can I be an honorary millennial and say that I don't do that? Can I give
uh
myself that badge?
have you met Zeke yet? Probably not. I'm gonna guess
No,
no.
I've not met Zeke.
Well, I call Zeke claim this for himself, zillennial.
Okay.
So I mean, you can join the Zillennials.
All right. Anyway, not to derail. Keep going, because I've
Well,
got
my
the
fiance is a Zillennial,
okay.
but she's older than you.
Right. Well, I have some
Or-
friends who might be. I'm just getting like ballpark in my brain who probably like actually the Zillennial term more than I am, who are like right at that Gen Z, millennial cusp.
Because when did you graduate college?
I graduate. Okay, I graduated like technically like half a year early. I graduated January 2020 or sorry December 2022.
Okay, so post COVID.
Yeah, post COVID, and I went into university right after lockdown stuff in Florida sort of dropped.
So your full college experience was post COVID.
I technically had a pre-COVID college experience for like a semester at community college in 2019.
Okay.
And then 2020 hit my community college, and then I remember just kind of being like thrown out of it. Like, yep, we're done. Like, we're not coming back. And then I came back fall 2020, or went to university fall 2020, and was like out on my own doing like the student housing, student life. And that was a very weird landscape, and it took a long time to like even loosen that up. Because then I was very quickly into like the college ministry and tried very hard to meet people and like try and go on dates and do that stuff then, and do the socialization thing, which those kind of spaces were helpful. I guess the question is when you leave the college space, when you leave the university space, those third spaces, where is it found? Where is the socialization? Where's the networking? Where's the relationship building found?
So how much of that is there are no third spaces, or is it where are the spaces where men and women can hang out together? Like, is
I
it
think
just there's no third spaces, or is it like specifically like because you could go to a card shop and hang out, but
I was gonna say that's the third
there's not
space
going
for
to be a
dudes.
whole bunch of women, and if there
Yes,
are, you already know them probably, or someone you know already knows them. So some
right.
of this is like, where do young men and women hang out together and meet each other in physical spaces that are not?
Yes, you got it. That's the question. That's actually the
Okay.
question. There
Yeah,
we
there
go.
it is.
Cool, we
We
did it.
got that.
I don't get this in person anymore. Thank you, Ethan. Thank you.
You don't get one person.
I need this. This is great. I'm just processing, like working up to like actually figuring out the answer. This doesn't happen often IRL, right? So thank you, Corner. Anyway, we can keep going. So yeah, where are the third spaces now? Because it's not the church. At least it's not my church. Final. That's the question. Maybe that's the question. The third space. And can the church be a third space? Is it a very good third space?
Well, the church is a great third space.
What if there's nobody there in the third space?
Well, you're there, and your friend
Diani,
DeAndre,
yeah.
Deani,
Diani.
Deani's there. Other
He's
people are
there.
there.
Yeah.
You're
Bunch-
talking about like where are spaces I can go and explore and meet
Yes.
someone new that's not
Yes.
part of my tribe or attached to
Mhm.
any tribe that I have knowledge of.
Correct. Because the community is not the issue. I think it's the exploration side. Okay, go to a different church. That's yes, that's an answer, but there's other extraneous factors that kick in there too.
Well, and maybe it's not so much go to a different church, but like are there other churches that have programs or something
Right.
that you could dip into as just like a casual participant to meet people? Because there's
Right.
nothing wrong with that, right? It's like
Mm-mm.
you have a church you attend, and this is your like local body, and that's great. But like, is there a giant church nearby that has some kind of young adults program that
Right.
you could go to once a month randomly
Yeah.
as your free time allows, which would then allow you to meet a group of 500 people?
Right. Yes, there are spaces, and I suppose as an adult with a really weird work hours, I would have to um I just
You
have to
have
be more
2 months of
accommodating.
no work hours.
I know, but I'm saying like the rest of the time. I'll do it this summer. I'll do it this summer. But then like those programs go away sometimes during the summer, which is weird. I'll figure it out. I'll get back to you on that side of it. But when you are doing like your 9 to 5, I'm an adult, and you're in a particular space, it's a little bit more difficult, I think. And I'm not making excuses, and maybe I am. It's fine.
Aren't
It's
most of
difficult
those
too.
programs after 5 p.m.?
Yeah, but I have to go to bed at like 8 because I have to be
No,
up
no,
at
no,
5
no,
in the
no, no,
morning.
no. Nope. You don't get to be an explorer and also have like a place to lay your head comfortably every night.
That's fair.
If
All
you're gonna
right.
be an explorer, then you gotta act like an explorer and you gotta explore knowing that sometimes I'm only gonna get 5 hours of sleep this night because I was hanging out in a new place, and that's okay.
Okay. All right. That answers some other questions I had about other things. About like adventure versus caution. No, not in a bad way. That was another thing that came up on my mind. It was like almost the Peter. Okay, so Peterson's Abrahamic like adventure thing always comes to mind, and it's like
What is that
not what
thing?
the. Oh, so his whole like thesis behind Genesis is that Abraham is like the call to adventure. That's the thing of the story, which is not it. It's about the establishment of Israel and its line and like leading to Jesus, obviously. But his read is like, Abraham got called out and it's an adventure, man, and you just gotta do it and you gotta be like that's his thing. That's part of the thing. That was the Genesis lecture, sort of. And you're like, sure, but no. And I guess that's helpful insofar as that. So maybe I'll put that on my to-do list. Be more adventurous, explore more.
Well, okay. I mean, there's a small amount of legitimacy to I think Peterson's thing on Abraham, and it's like God does call him out of a place to another place. So there definitely is like a call of adventure. Like I don't think that's a bad question to ask. Is like, is God calling me to something or to go somewhere? Versus there's other stories where God calls someone to stay in a place, and
Mm-hmm.
like I'm in Alaska right now, which is like the epitome of adventure. And like last Sunday, Jane and I climbed a mountain, and that was like cool and scary and dangerous and fun and adventurous. But I also can't wait for like 3 months from now to like be home in Wisconsin. Like I would give up all of the next 6 mountains that are like on my calendar. I would give all those mountains up to be home in Wisconsin and to be like rooted. But I've also like had many years of being in adventure mode, and I'm just kind of like sick of it. I'm excited for
Fair.
like the quiet mode.
Here's one. I have the opposite. I feel like I've done the quiet mode technically for a long time. 5 years in the same
Then
church.
get out there, Henry. Get out
I
there.
know.
Go
I'm
see
just
it
saying.
all.
I'm solving it myself. We're figuring it out in real time. What the problem is? I know. I hear you, Ethan, and I'm gonna do it.
Are you naturally like you think just like personality wise more drawn to quiet over like are you more
Yeah.
quiet oriented than risk oriented or
Yes, and that's some of that's the medical like history and like you
yeah?
go through enough pain and you deal with enough garbage, like the last thing you really want to do is put yourself in another situation that's dangerous in any sense. You know,
I
you
mean,
get
yeah,
food
that's
poisoning from hibachi and you're like, I'm good with it. That's enough adventure for a while. I'm done. Put you in the hospital for a week. You're like, I'm good. I don't have to go out anymore. I'm not gonna eat hibachi anymore. And I haven't since that, but that's a lame example.
but is that a
So
real story?
yes,
Hibachi put you
okay.
in the hospital for a week?
I'll tell you the whole thing. So it
Please do.
was
Yeah.
like 2 years ago now in November. It was my Thanksgiving. It was the Thursday before the Friday was supposed to be on Thanksgiving break. I was hanging out with a friend, and we wanted to get dinner, and we were just like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know we didn't know what we wanted to eat, and so we were looking around, and he's like, dude, what if we got hibachi? I was like, yeah, this is great. So we got hibachi from like a 3.5 star place. And in my brain, I was like, well, it's like the Chinese restaurants. You know those like ones that are in the shopping centers? That's like a whatever shopping center that's the chain. Those are
Oh yeah.
usually the best ones, right? They're never designed to be eaten in, but they taste really good and you know what you're getting every time. I thought that this was going to be the same situation for the hibachi. And we got in there and there was kind of some already like that. In retrospect, there's probably some red flags as to why we probably shouldn't have eaten there.
Like
I
what?
got like it was really dingy and The lady who checked us out was not very well dressed, and it just was a bad vibe in the building. And it was at like 7 o'clock at night. We got the hibachi. I think it was like chicken and something else I got, and my friend had it too. And the next day, I was at work. It was that Friday, right before break, and I had a moment where I was like, "Oh man, I already didn't feel well when I woke up," and then I almost passed out during second period, which was like my second hour of teaching, and I had to call the people next door, my colleagues. I was like, "Can you come over? I don't feel well." Um, and she was like, "Go, you look like death. Go, go." So I went to the bathroom and I was like, "What am I gonna do? I don't feel very good. I don't think I'm gonna make it like through this day." And so I came back and she's like, I was like, "I gotta take off the day." She's just leave, go. Like, please don't be in here. We don't want you here if you're not well. So I check myself out. My stomach's in pain. I have like already almost blacked out in the classroom and then again in the bathroom. And I was like, I don't know what's wrong. I call my friend, and a different friend, not the one I had hibachi with, because I didn't know what this was and what the problem was. And he's like, check yourself into the ER. I was like, okay. I ended up in that ER for 21 hours.
Ouch.
And then ended up in like a hospital for another like 4 days. And they had no idea what was wrong. They don't know what to do because of my medical stuff. They see that and they get one look at that and they're like, I don't want to touch that. I don't know what this is. Um, Eventually it passed, long story short, and it wasn't until who knows when that I figured out I might have gotten food poisoning from hibachi. And I went, that was probably the problem. Because I was talking with my primary doctor who's like done all that like surgery stuff, because I'm still in touch with him. And I was like, do you think eating bad hibachi or getting food poisoning would send me to the hospital? And he's like, yeah, I think it would. I don't think you could handle that. I watched all of the original Westworld movie. I had an NG tube shoved up my nose like I was 4 years old again, the size of a USB cord, twice.
Oof.
And it got like knotted up in my throat because like I had to do a procedure and they tried to put it back in without me being awake for it. And so like it was like tangled up like 3 times, 4 times over. It was great. Like I don't like adventure necessarily unless I've like controlled it. I like it unless it's like me doing it. And I have control. So this is a great segue to this adventure I had technically the other night because I think I got the video pulled up. We'll figure out how to do it. Anyway, Chris Murphy says that befriending you, Ethan, is a good start to being adventurous. So I think we solved that. Anyway, Friday night, last day of school. It was a bad week at school. My friend's like, well, we want to go do this live music at this cigar club. And we're like, all right, I'll go because we normally go there.
Is this going to be a video of you doing karaoke?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go.
So well, I didn't realize it was karaoke. I knew about live music. They've done it all the time. And there was this Latina lady, that's redundant. She's super talented. She's singing, and then we hear this dude singing because we're sitting outside instead of in like the main like parlor. And we're like, what clown has taken the mic? Is this like a sympathy thing of like just letting the guy sing because he's hammered or something? And he's like, I don't know, bro. My friend was like, dude, I don't know. You should go sing. You should go see about doing that. Because, chorus kid, I have talent. I do this. And I was like, I don't know. I'll go scope it out. Turns out there's like a notebook paper for a karaoke sign up. And I did one solo. And the lady was like, wow, that was really good. Do you want to like sing again? So I sang like 4 songs in a row. And then this is where the video comes in. I sat back down. There was like a break. She did some numbers, and I was like, "Can we do like a duet? Can we sing a duet? Like, I bet there's some good songs we could do." And she's like, "Okay, we could do that." So I have all of it on video, but here's like 50 seconds of the duet I did with the host who was running the karaoke night. How do I pull
And
this up?
you have said 3 different times that this proves your Riz. So
Yes.
I'm going to speak on behalf of the audience and say we're expecting the Riz.
How do I? Here we go. There we go. Is there the audio? Does it play?
No audio.
I'll figure it out. But we got the proof. We're getting there. Is it a video clip? Do I just add the intro video and we just play the intro video? Nope. Hold on. We might just have to screen share. So give me a sec. All right. Yes, eat Chris, small adventures. So we're gonna try and share the screen. Oh gosh, share screen. I know it's easiest amongst two monitors. Sharing screen works best on a good computer. I get it. All right, can you guys see it? We good? Because I can't open the tab. I got one monitor open. We good? Okay, I think we're good. All right, there we go.
I should warn you that from my perspective, I watched you watch something on a screen that I couldn't see, and then you might have been singing along while you're sitting here, but
That
you
was
looked
the
like you really
audio.
liked it. I,
Darn
I
it.
didn't hear I didn't hear any
Darn it.
audio, anything. It was just kind of silent, and you were like moving your lips. You looked like you were really into it, though. Look, I mean, you look
That
excited
sucks. I don't
about
know
it.
how to do this. Why does this work?
I also don't know how to do this.
I hate this. Hold up. How embarrassing.
Henry, I'm so glad you're live streaming, and I just get to oh, here we go.
Here we go. How do I stop presenting? Stop. Change the background.
Are you in a
Anyway,
mall? Is that a mall?
no, that's Cigars International.
Cigars?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a cigar shop.
How do I remove the video? I don't understand. That's weird. I removed the video from the studio. I don't know why it's still playing.
So, what do you think of StreamYard? Do you love it or
I don't know. I don't love that price tag because I'm about to go to that free version after Friday, and like
are you not on the free version now?
I'm on a free trial right now, which lets me do all the fun, fancy things. But I'm not going to pay the StreamYard fees for a year. I'm not doing that.
You don't need to.
I'm not going to. I'm going to cancel that. I just figured I could do the free trial. I like it okay. Dabbled in the GARs. I do dabble in the GARs and the pipes. So I don't know. StreamYard's okay. It could be better. Could be better. Like for example, with this issue of the video still playing. If I was out. Oh man, hold on. Let me get my pipe. We're gonna
Yeah,
do
there
that.
it is. Yeah. Man, I got like an hour. Now I'm thinking it's a nice sunny day. I could just pop out to the patio for.
There we go. I smoke pipes. These are great. Problem is, I stopped smoking for a little while, just because I didn't have the compulsion to. And every time I do it now, I'm kind of reminded how awful I feel the next day.
Do you feel awful after one pipe, or does one pipe lead to 12 pipes?
Oh, one like packing it in leads to several in the evening. And then even like one like mini cigar the other night, I was like, my stomach hurts, the nicotine's in my brain. I'm not gonna fall asleep until like 2 in the morning now.
Yeah, it has a wild caffeine effect, or whatever it's called, nicotinic effect.
It's crazy. Stop inhaling. It's inevitable, even if you're doing it right. I don't know. It's gonna hit you, whatever. Like you're gonna get mouth cancer. It's gonna go in your brain. I don't know.
Wait, are you inhaling?
No, I'm not inhaling. But
Oh.
like it's gonna hit you regardless. It hits your in any way. So like that nicotine is
Yeah,
gonna
it'll
enter
get
your
you a little
body
bit.
somehow.
Is the video still going on in the background?
Yeah,
There's
I
like
don't know how
a
to
red
stop it.
flag.
I don't know how to stop it. I like cut the video. It's supposed to be gone. So I'm just gonna have to change to an image file, I guess. See,
I hope that after it takes this video, it just keeps like playing random videos from your phone, and that we just get to see this one little like sliver.
oh my God, it's still playing. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Why is the video still playing? Is it because it's a... Oh. It's in the background. I figured it out. I fixed it. Welcome back. We fixed that problem. I solved it.
So are you going on Luke Freeman's podcast this week?
I am.
Did I hear that?
Thursday afternoon.
Nice. I'll be looking forward to hearing y'all chat. I'll probably catch it
That'd be
next week.
exciting.
Maybe over the
Talk
weekend.
about metagelicalism. It'll be fun.
Because you like that word.
I love that word because I don't know what else to categorize myself as.
Yeah.
And so maybe this is me again co-opting the language of the corner for my own purposes, just like meaning crisis.
Well, I mean, the corner doesn't have purposes in some sense. So like,
That's fair.
take from the corner however you will and do whatever you will with it, right? I mean,
Yeah. So yeah, I'm
you
looking forward to that.
you said like I don't know how to categorize myself. Do you want that? Do you want to be categorized?
Secretly, probably not.
Okay, what about not secretly?
No, I probably don't. I think I probably like being a phenomenon and unto itself. There's that yeah, the anti-establishment, can't put me in a box,
Contrarian.
contrarian, almost like Peterson, if you will, since he keeps coming up tonight. Because he's like, you can't put me in a box. I'm not almost there. Leave me alone. Like, let me be on the fringe. It's hard not to talk about Peterson for some reason. And then I have nothing to say about him either, other than an impression, a bad impression.
It's a better impression than I do.
I almost thought, I don't have one. Wanted to get like a Kermit plush if I ever torture myself again and do a live stream and threaten to read We Who Wrestle with God. Just have a Kermit like plush on standby as well. Let's do the whole thing.
So have you read the book? Or you just
I
owned
read
it?
so my friend bought it, tried to touch it, and like I'm done. I don't he had like this anti-Peterson stint, gave it to me and was like, well, it's a free book, I'll take it. And then I tried to sit and read it, and I read the foreword and I tried the first chapter, and I was like, nope, I can't do this. This is a brick, and I could read literally anything else about the faith that I think would be more worthwhile than this, that are on my shelf that I have not read or will read later. Like, man, because I've read a lot more other stuff that are actually helpful probably than this book in the last whiles, like in the time that I've owned this book.
Yeah.
It's a mess. And like, it's nice to hear other people say like it's unreadable.
Yeah, I mean, like it interests me in theory in the sense of like I'm sort of interested to see how he conceptualizes stuff, but I also have heard it's a mess, and I'm like, as interesting as a mess is, like Because is it 400 pages?
No, it's like 7.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's not. It's like Order of the Phoenix, Harry Potter type like size.
I thought it was
Okay.
like 400 pages.
All right, I'm sorry. I guess it's technically. All right, it's 500. It's 500 pages.
That's still a lot of pages.
That's still a lot of pages. That's like Goblet of Fire size.
I love that you know the lengths of the Harry Potter books.
Those were a big deal to me as a kid. Those books in that series. Um, I guess they're kind of core to my like story, but like world building and like sensibilities today too. But yeah, I Order of the Phoenix is the largest at like 800 something, because everybody's like Deathly Hallows is the largest book, and you're like, you got it wrong, guys. Check back to like a couple years ago. Order of the Phoenix is by far still the largest. Just because Deathly Hallows is the last doesn't mean it's the biggest.
So I actually don't know how the whole thing ends. Because
Oh, interesting.
I read all the books except for the last one. And then I watched the first movie of the last movie, but
Yeah,
I've never read the last book, nor have I watched the second half of the last book movie. So I've been in suspension for a decade, and
that's crazy. I have a take that I don't think the series ends not well. I think it ends fine, but it's not satisfying. And I have a friend that I've known since high school. We used to like do text threads all throughout community college about um what we would have done differently with the book and like the end of the story and stuff. And there's some setup for things that just don't work. Like Harry comes because like does fulfills like the Messiah archetype and like the resurrection kind of deal. And like that doesn't work. That just doesn't hit. Um and there's some stuff with like the prophecy things from Order of the Phoenix where you're like, yeah, we could have been interesting and subversive with this and we weren't. And I don't know if the way it ends is narratively like hits. I think it would have been more meaningful if Harry stayed dead.
was because I had recently somebody told me recently that at least at some point J.K. Rowling started writing with the films in mind.
Interesting. That
So
doesn't
like
surprise me.
so like she was writing Snape, but she had the person who was playing Snape in mind. And I don't know the order of things. So was she still writing? Was she writing the last couple books as the first movie or two came out?
One, sorry, Chris. Two, yeah, she was, because Deathly Hallows came out in 2007, 2008. No, 2007. And Order of the Phoenix, the film, I think came out that summer, if I remember correctly.
So they
And
were
so she's,
catching up.
yeah, and by the time the first film had come out, no, I guess just the first book. Um, there was a delay, her publication and stuff, and then like even the films, like the timeline was like very much stretched out. There was a point where she was working on those films and writing at the same time, and her having like I guess Alan Rickman in mind for Snape in the later books is very apparent, especially by the end, because Deathly Hallows. I'm just going to ruin the rest of it for you, Chris. I'm sorry. The end of Deathly Hallows very much is like Snape wasn't bad. You should have trusted him. You can trust him. And some of, I think, the cruelness of him as a character is slowly evaporated over time.
Ooh. Okay, well I remember that from movie one. So 2 nights ago, Jane and I do this thing every week called state night, which is just like our guaranteed date night. So we
Yeah,
pick a state and we make a food from the state and we watch a movie from the state. And
cool.
we try to do every week just as a good way to be like one night a week is just sacred date night. But it was Kansas night. So we made
Okay.
ribs and then we were in between watching the original Wizard of Oz or Wicked. And for some reason we both were like, you know what, we're gonna try Wicked. We're gonna see how far we go. So we start playing it and I go, it's 2 hours and 40 minutes. It's a 3 hour movie. What? But the thing that struck me, I kind of want to write an article, but I'm like, I don't know, we'll see. I don't know. Um, is exactly what you just said. Was how they needed to redeem Snake, which maybe that was always the plan for JK. I don't know. But with Wicked, I was like, it's so interesting that the evil witch can't just be evil. Because like 40 minutes into the movie, I mean, I can't stand Glinda the Good Witch, and the evil witch is at least standable, just somewhat likable. And I'm like, this is really strange that we're gonna do like a kind of a prequel thing, but we're gonna reverse the roles,
Yeah.
which to me is like, I mean, clearly you're not trying to make something that is in alignment with the original artistic object, and that's
Right.
fine. But the thought I had was how I'm watching Wicked and I'm going like, I think this is the postmodern answer to the problem of evil. Is like there actually is no evil. We don't need to think about evil. We don't even need to deal with evil,
Yeah.
because if we just go far enough into the psychology of an evil person, we'll find a sweet innocent child and we'll hold up that sweet innocence, and we don't need to even like think about what evil might be, where it comes from. We don't need to discuss evil because it's not real if you look at it hard enough.
Yeah. Well, how familiar are you with where the Wicked that film comes from, and it's like where it's tracing back to?
I'm not familiar at all. I have no
Okay,
idea.
so um it is that movie is an adaptation of a musical, which is an extremely loose adaptation of a novel that's playing off of Frank Baum's original Wizard of Oz. And that book, from what I understand, and like the 2 pages I tried to read of it, it's a very grim uh, social commentary type text. And then it gets turned into this huge Broadway musical that was really big in the 2000s. I saw it on Broadway, and that was cool. Um, but I think it's already that idea. Not that I know much more about it, but it's coming from somewhere, from like a history that's really not too far off what you're already talking about. It is talking about like some of it's like systemic issues, I think, early on with like she's a witch and she's green and this is why she's a villain, and but she's not evil. Like there's some of that in the earlier stuff, and I'm sure that that helps inform what they're doing in the film now too. I don't disagree with you in that presentation, but it's funny because I think that works probably better in a musical than it does as like a movie, or at least as like standalone songs.
Well, because now I'm curious, because I'm reading Wizard of Oz like on my phone, Kindle or whatever. Because I never like
Yeah.
read the book before, and I know that I saw that he'd done a bunch of sequels. But you're
Hmm.
saying that this isn't one of his sequels.
Mm-mm.
This is like fan fiction that became real
Yeah,
fiction, or
Gregory Maguire. We'll do the Wikipedia. We're not going to do the PVK AI summary.
please don't,
I'm
please
not going to
don't
do that.
leave that for the boomers, right?
Exactly. I'm so against that. Um, Wicked: The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West is an American novel published in 1995. So keep in mind like the year. So
It was
by
published after
Gregory.
I was born.
hmm,
Huh.
It's the first in the Wicked series and was followed by Son of a Witch, published in September 2005, blah, 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 some other ones. Wicked's a darker and more adult themed revisionist exploration of the characters and setting of the 1900 novel, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. The book follows Elphaba from her birth through her social ostracism, school years, radicalization, and final days. Maguire shows the traditionally villainous character in a sympathetic light, using her journey to explore the problem of evil and the nature versus nurture debate, as well as themes of terrorism, propaganda, and existential purpose. In 2003, it was adapted into the Tony Award winning Broadway musical Wicked, which in turn was adapted into a 2-part musical film series. So it's not even done. That's part one for those movies. So that's the brief rundown of that. So you're working from an already like, was it postmodernist kind of text turned into a very commercial friendly Disney-esque flashy Broadway musical into a very post-Disney, post-woke, I don't want to use that word necessarily, but I guess I will,
I think it's
movie
probably
musical.
fair.
Yeah, that's so it's already mired in all of that you've already discussed, like from its core.
Well, that's the interesting thing, is revisionist history. Okay, I'm tracking with that. But then to like commercialize that and make that palatable, which and this is why I think Jordan Peterson is a postmodernist, because I think he's trying to make the Bible palatable. That's how I read it. Is like, let me tell you this Abraham story, and let me make it so that you can like swallow it easily, and then you can follow the God of conscience off into adventure, and everybody can do this. So come along, boys and girls, for this ride. It's going to be really fun, and
Yeah.
it's not going to be it's not going to be well, it will be hard, I guess, because he talks about suffering and sacrifice, but
not in
it
hard
is
the way that Scripture presents.
because the Bible is really not that palatable.
No, it's not. It's really not. There's a lot that I read where I'm like, I don't feel good. I don't like doing this. I don't want to do this anymore.
Mm-mm.
Jesus is not palatable.
There's
That's
like
a take.
a strange um like rotating feeling I have where it's like, okay, Jesus, like I can swallow this pill, this is palatable, but then it's like the next page or the next story or even some of the next sentence, I go, okay, the sentence one I'll take. Sentence two, which like carves a piece out of me, we'll skip that part. And
Right.
but so yeah, I mean, as a whole, it's like, is it palatable? No, it like I think it more so like it restructures your palate or it dissolves the palate you're born with and offers you a new way to have a palate or
Yeah. My friend recently has been talking about prayer in our group, and to this point, and one also aside, I think you really should write something about Wicked, and dare I say, write something about Peterson's palate cleanser Bible.
no, I have no interest in writing about Peterson because at this
That's
point,
fair.
if you're writing about Peterson, you're only writing to try and get into the zeitgeist and into the
Mm,
algorithm. And I'm
that's fair.
intentionally trying to step around the algorithm.
You know what? Respect.
But Wicked's
Anyway,
interesting. The problem of evil
okay.
is interesting.
I think that is interesting. Maybe I'll make the Bible comment, and then we can go back to the Wicked things. I think that's interesting because there's some other examples that exist. He's been talking about prayer and kind of the nature of it, and he brought up C.S. Lewis's Malcolm. Hey, we're talking about C.S. Lewis. Malcolm letters to Malcolm chiefly on prayer, and one of Lewis's comments is that you kind of operate in attention and the idea of like you either live in a world in which you know God's going to answer your prayer, or you live in a world where you expect God not to answer it, or at least not answer it in the way you expect to. And then my friend started bringing up all these examples in which heroes of the faith, including Jesus, make petitions and they're not answered or fulfilled in the present time. Abraham's promise for the inheritance of Israel or in Jerusalem, like as a state and as a nation, he doesn't get. He dies and he kind of gets it. He gets Isaac, but he doesn't get the fulfillment of that while he's alive. And then David obviously doesn't get that, and that's almost taken away from him. Moses is a different situation, I suppose. But then even Jesus weeps for Jerusalem, says, "Oh, that I would gather you into my like nest and stuff," and he prays, like unto the Psalms, for its deliverance and for its rescue. And is it rescued and delivered in his like earthly existence on earth? No. And then even his like prayer in the Garden of Gethsemane, his fear, right, is not maybe it's crucifixion, but the other one my friend said is like it's the fear of becoming sin, becoming that which he never was. And he says, right, let this cup pass from me, but if it be your will, like let it happen. Like these are petitions made by people. Oh, and then Abraham being like, you'll spare Sodom and Gomorrah for the righteous. That technically doesn't happen. The angels pull Lot and his family out, and then they get nuked, right? Like none of these are answered prayer in like the way people wanted, and the requests are not answered in the way that they wanted. And that's a really hard pill to swallow. And that's not palatable, necessarily. And so how do you operate in the tension? And this is like the ongoing discourse of like in prayer, what do you pray for in a way that is in God's will, I suppose, is one discussion. And then should we expect our prayers to be answered? Or are we, I don't want to say praying the right thing, but that's something to be shelved. It's just an idea. But like that's not palatable. Reading that Jesus' own prayers as the Son of God are not answered in the way he wishes, or are flat out said, no, this is the will. Like that's hard to read.
I mean, it's only hard to read if you assume prayers about having stuff answered and you getting what you want.
That's true, right? It's the idea of, he said it's like you're either asking to see the hand of God or you're asking to see the face of God.
Because like if you're asking for the hand of God, then like God's gonna determine it, and it's not
Right.
like everything you're asking for is out of your control.
Yep.
And so like I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't really like I don't enjoy not having control. Like I know
I
that
hate
that's
it.
what it means to like to live by faith. Like I know that means But that's even, I mean, like I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to live by faith. And that's why, like, if there's something that's in the algorithm, I'm trying to go the other way, because for me, and this is just for me personally, like, it would be so easy to watch what's in the zeitgeist and then to like
Yeah.
jump on that topic, write something quick and send that out, hoping that the algorithm would bless me. But
Hmm.
then like, I mean, maybe I could make it for a month or 2 months and I could still be like, okay, I'm in alignment with God and I'm getting algorithmic blessing. But I know myself, it won't be long before I stop praying to God and I just continue to chase
Yeah.
algorithmic blessing. And so
Yeah.
I like, it's like, okay, God, what do you ask of me today? And then I interact with the internet and see what's going on, and it's like, where should I be, God? What should I be doing, God? Like, what do you want from me today, God? And all of that's out of control, right? Like, it's quite literally, and I don't have a career right now where I have like, okay, at 9 a.m. I got to be at this job because this is my job, so I know that this is the will of God is me going to work. Like, that's kind of an
Yeah.
easy answer to start with. Um, yeah, living by faith. Oh, like,
I hate it. It's so hard. I'm not very good at it.
well, I don't know how you could be. Can anyone be good at it? Like,
No.
I mean, Jesus did it. Um, so like, I mean, we know that it's possible by the Spirit of God. I
Abraham
think
sort
that's
of did an okay job.
he did well enough that we still talk about him.
Yeah, he did well enough, not including you know, uh his other, I can't remember his other son's name. Good Lord.
Ishmael.
Thank you. I don't know why that didn't come up to my head. Right. We can ignore the Ishmael part, but like and even that was like kind of take it okay. Like you're good. It's all right. Like keep going. Like, and that's helpful. I don't think Peterson, I don't, that doesn't get brought up in that narrative of like the adventure is like the actual work of faith and then like the failed attempts and stuff. And that's really key to, I think, the actual Christian living is that you have these heroes, and I don't like heroes in like the Greek sense, I suppose, like of the faith, doing all these things, and they all suck, like ultimately. And that's not me being like mean, I guess, but like they do, like they're rough. Like not even like Moses and Abraham kind of they have some really high highs and they have some crippling low lows because it is human, because these are things that have like, however you want to describe it. And that's lost in like the palatable kind of format of this because it does become this just consciousness as God, follow your dreams. And you're like, no, like you're negotiating and you're working against and working with the actual creator of the universe, Yahweh. And that's not easy.
Oh, it's terrifying.
It's horrifying and it's really, really hard. And I don't know. And like the church can be all like, I've heard it before where you're like, if you think following Jesus is easy, you're in for it. And they say that. And then I think the same people, I don't know if they really get how hard it is, but like it's a lot. It's really scary. And like when people make the commitment to the faith, I don't know if people are always 100% in the moment ready, like 100% cognizant of what that entails.
I mean, I don't know that I am now. I've been
I don't either.
in
I would agree with
in
that.
and out of this for a couple of decades, and I still don't precisely know what I'm doing.
No,
Like
yeah, I would agree with
it.
that.
There are plenty of days where I go like, is the God thing even real? Like, is this all just part of my imagination?
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
I don't think doubts just don't go away.
Mm-mm.
Um,
I always get like the dabbling and like the appeal of like I don't want to call it hedonism necessarily, but like straying from what could be wise and what is right. And even like in the Ecclesiastes way, because like the writer there is like, you can do whatever you want, but you're ultimately going to face judgment. And you're like, yeah, I'm really tired of doing the right thing because it's boring. Maybe that's some of the adventure problem that I'm going to sort out this summer. But sometimes I do think of like unfettered adventure, and I'm like, that's really cool. That's not going to end well. Darn it. I'm still stuck with like the right decision. I don't know. Sometimes that kicks in and then it's always like, why God? Why can't it be cool and exciting and I get to just do your thing? I don't know. That one comes to mind. Where it's like, have I made a mistake? Or are there regrets of like not doing the really stupid adventurous thing, even though it was wise? And that's a source of doubt.
well, you have plenty of time to do the adventurous thing. Um, the adventurous thing never goes away. I do think that often adventure is found like outside the bounds of your city. Like that's a
Mhm.
pretty like, not that you can't bring an adventurous spirit into your city and into the mundane stuff, and like, you know, you can view washing dishes as an adventure, and you can meditate on all the little scraps of things on the dishes as they're washing away, and this can be an adventurous experience. Like
The
that's true.
Chesterton thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's real, right? You can see eternity in the eyes of a bird that's on your porch. Like all of that is, but it's also about like what is the thing in front of you, and like what kind of human do you need to be to like step forward into the next thing? And if you're going to seek adventure, then you probably need to do that outside the bounds of whatever city you're in.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know how big your city is or how much time you spend. Like, are you going city to city for jobs?
Technically, it's it's within the same county. And like, there's a very huge like disparity, I think, in like the atmosphere and the economics and the vibe between my job and where I live. And so technically that's an adventure when it's work and I'm
And
working.
even just beyond like known territory, right? I mean, that would be an
Yeah,
early Peterson thing. Is like, what
sure.
territory do you have mapped and that's known? And like, if you look around you and like very physically, like how many minutes do you have to drive until you're in unknown territory? And if there's a way for you to go into the unknown that's only, 17 minutes away, and it's this thing that has sparked you and like, oh, there's this like little shrine thing to Mary that's 17 minutes away. I've always wanted to like stop and sit at
Yeah.
it, and I never have. Because I used to do that in Milwaukee. Like Milwaukee is not a huge city, but like there were all kinds of things I would drive past and be like, oh, someday I'll do it. But it's always like, oh well, I gotta go home from work and make like we have routines. You follow the
Yep.
routines. But there's all kinds of things I feel like that we drive past on a normal day that we don't stop at, even though we have the idea. Something goes, oh, I should go in that store, or oh, I should like whatever, like,
Go do that then, right? That would be
and then you
the
just
thing.
you just go do it. You just go, you know what? For the next 2 months, I'm going to become the kind of person that just does things that I don't normally do, and then before you know it, you're a different kind of person because now doing things you don't normally do is now mapped and known territory.
Okay.
But you have to
See,
start by like if an idea pops in, you just go and do that idea.
Ethan,
I
these are
mean,
the things that the church doesn't talk about that are pressing to the young male and to like young people, I think. And see, it doesn't happen, but it happens here, and that's cool.
it does happen. I mean, how many churches are in America? Like, there's plenty of
A
churches that are
lot.
talking about stuff like this. It's
Fair
just
enough.
like your church where you're at is it in a specific place.
I like all this. I used to do a lot of that more in college, actually. Now that I think about it, when I was at university and I was lonely and I was just starting fresh, I didn't work for a little while before I picked up an actual job. I would be like, all right, it's the weekend. I'm in Tampa. What cool? Because I really like collectibles and stuff. What collectible stores are in the area? And I would like trek.
Yeah,
I would trek to those places, and I still enjoy doing that actually. So there's always something new there. There's something new at those places on repeat visits or recurring visits. Um, those are fun, and that's pretty low stakes adventure, generally speaking. Um, that's fun. Like today, I went and bought One Piece cards for a deck and hunted and spilled a whole box, one of the big boxes of cards, and had to pick it off the floor.
I'm sure that was a embarrassing experience because I would have felt like I would have been looking around like I just would have been ashamed. I would have felt ashamed. No,
I
not
don't know
not
if
put a
anybody
cat shame
saw.
on you. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. If I had done it, I would have knocked over a whole shelf and the whole store would have seen because that's how my life always goes. I never have quiet mistakes. I only ever have loud mistakes. But
My friend came over to me, he's like, "Bro, I lost you. What you doing over here cooking?" I'm like, "No, I'm cleaning up cards I spilled." Spent like
um,
7 minutes cleaning them up.
yeah, I'm gonna tell you the story of this hat real quick, and then I gotta
Yeah.
go because I gotta
Okay.
pick up my parents from the airport. That's my adventure. The next 10 days is living with my parents for 10 days in Alaska. Um, but when I was in college, my buddy Joe and I think my buddy Logan, maybe Luke was there too. I'm not sure. Um, it was like exam week, and so we don't study, so we just were like hanging out. And we were driving around like dumpster diving and like getting all the good stuff people were throwing away because they were like, I gotta go home, and so I'm just gonna throw away everything that I've had in my dorm and I don't need it anymore. My parents will buy me new stuff. So we would just rack in all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah.
So we ended up in this giant dumpster, and it was a little off campus. It was further than we normally went to go dumpster diving. And I found this hat in the dumpster. I have a red and black flannel with me that I also found in there. I have some belt buckles I found. I found a tent in there. And so the four of us guys are in this dumpster, and we were like wearing clothes and like these really cool kind of like camping type stuff, very like Americana type stuff. And this woman comes out and like dumps a bin in there and like looks at us. And the four of us like look at her and we're like, oh, what are we in the middle of? Because you're not a college student. And like, whose stuff are we holding right now? And so we kind of like cautiously start chatting with her. And we learned that we are currently wearing the clothes of her dead brother, who has passed, and she's emptying his apartment. And her and her husband have driven up to Wisconsin to like empty out the place so that the place can be cleaned and like
Yeah.
that sort of process. And here we are, like just wearing his clothes. And her husband comes out, and her husband realizes, oh, this is a great opportunity to make some money because these boys want this stuff so we can sell it. And she goes, no, no, you guys can have whatever you want. Like, come on in the house. And like brings us in. She goes, take whatever you want. Like, it's actually really special to see you wearing my brother's stuff and to know that like his life is gonna like go on and have some kind of meaning through you. So like we call him Dead Man, and we all have like these like Dead Man objects.
Okay.
His name is Brian Johnston. Because it was like one of us found a tag with his name on it in like an old flannel. Um, and Brian Johnston is like he has made camping trips available for us because we took like 3 or 4 tents. He was like a Boy Scout extraordinaire.
Wow.
And I've always had that image of like often I have a hat and a flannel that I wear pretty regularly. So like I'm often thinking of Dead Man. Um, and like what does it mean to like live a life that at the end of your life people can come and like scavenge your remains and go like these things you've left behind are like will carry me on into my next adventure. And like that's the kind of that's how I want to die. I want to die like Dead Man, where like
Yeah.
people can come and scavenge my remains and go, oh, there's some stuff here that okay, sure, we're gonna take that and we're gonna go off in the wilderness with that. And like I think that's what Jesus did. I mean, Jesus was the ultimate example of that, right? Like he dies and they go, oh no, this death is gonna birth it's gonna birth thousands of years.
Yeah.
Thousands of years are gonna be born out of this moment. And if you and I can go on and live and get, I don't know, 20 good years for somebody out of our lives, like that's a life worth living. Right? Because like that's it. It's like I want to die that way. So if I'm gonna die that way, then I have to live that way so that my death. Yeah, I think death's important. I think it's good to think about how you want to die. How do you want to die?
It's interesting. I don't know if I think about that a whole lot. I don't necessarily think of like the oh man, the one person watching bailed after that comment got made. Anyway. Oh, they're back. Anyway, how would I like to die? I don't know if I actually want to die. Like, you know, the whole like surrounded by everybody I love. I don't know, something else. It's got to be. It needs to be just as chaotic, and but also like special as I think like coming into the world was. I suppose. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that looks like. But if I was born with my inside strewn out at birth in like chaos ahead in that, then might as well go out, not necessarily splayed open, but something equally chaotic and ultimately worth it. I don't know.
All right, well, it's time for this profile of me to die. So later.
See ya. Thanks, Ethan. And there we go. That was and has been a really good live stream. Thank you, Ethan and Luke and Diani for coming out, and for Chris in the chat, and for CC who dropped a comment at the beginning. If we have any final thoughts, if anybody wants to say anything or drop in real quick, You're welcome to. I did not finish the iced coffee, which I guess isn't saying a whole lot because I'm still going to be up really late because of this. Got him. There we go. There we go. Yes, indeed, we got him. You know what? I'm going to finish it right now. Not that the caffeine isn't already going to be running through my system. I think this was a success. We did not read We Who Wrestle with God. Thank God. We, I don't know, there's some really good conversation. Really appreciate Ethan talking about adventure with me. And I think that's the goal. I think I'm going to do some more adventure this summer. Until next time, maybe we'll do this again on a Tuesday night. Until next time, however way I show up in the corner, whatever way I show up in the corner, I hope to see you guys there. This has been Henry with Unfocused Faith, Thoughts on the Faith, live streaming it up, signing off. Have a good night, everybody.